You can open MIDI files in Sibelius directly from the Quick Start under the Import tab. You can also open them by clicking the File tab to go to the Backstage, and then by clicking on Open, which is just above Johnny Depp, and locating the MIDI file that you want to open. In this case, you're going to begin by opening purplesequencer.mid, which you'll find in the Lesson 3 folder in the Core Resources folder. You can associate all MIDI files on your computer with Sibelius so that double-clicking them automatically opens them in Sibelius. Instructions on how to do this are found in your book. You should also refer to the book if you're wondering what technical terms such as MIDI, sequencer, or quantize mean. However you open the MIDI file in Sibelius, you will be greeted by the Open MIDI File dialog box. The first thing you should notice is that it's nearly identical to the FlexiTime options dialog that you used in Lesson 2 when you recorded the first violin part. If you think about it, this makes complete sense. Because a MIDI file is simply a record of every note from the start to the end of a piece, which note is played, how loudly, how long it is held, and so on, Sibelius needs to apply the same logic it would to an incoming live performance. The file you've opened has not been quantized. Its rhythms are deliberately a little all over the place. This is so you can learn how to get Sibelius to clean up unquantized MIDI files. You'll actually import this file a number of times to get the best notation possible out of it. This MIDI file has been exported with a general MIDI sound set, so you can leave that option as default, as well as all of the other options in the MIDI file tab. Next, click on the Notation tab and uncheck the Adjust Rhythms dialog box. This may not seem like a very good idea, and in fact it isn't, but we just want to start by looking at what this file would look like in notation without using those settings, so you can see what a great job Sibelius does. Confirm that Remove Rests Between Notes on drum staves is checked, and leave other settings as their defaults as shown here. We're expecting this score to be a mess, so click OK, and that is what you'll see. Although the resulting score is at that mess and completely unusable, there are a few encouraging points. Firstly, Sibelius has recognised instruments from the MIDI file, and secondly, if you play the score back, you'll see that there is at least some sense of timing that Sibelius should be able to fix. Close this file and then import the same MIDI file again. But this time we'll change some settings. This time turn Adjust Rhythms on and select a 16th note or semiquaver. Sibelius will now adjust all rhythms in the file to the nearest semiquaver, hopefully fixing up many of the timing problems. Click OK and you'll see that's exactly what happens. The score isn't perfect, but it's 1,000 times better than last time. Note that if you're using the Windows version of Sibelius, what you see in your score may be slightly different to this video, which uses the Mac version. The import results in slightly different scores in each version. It might be tempting at this point to accept what you've got and fix up any problems by editing the score. However, it's always worth importing a MIDI file a number of times with different settings, as, for example, one part may be better with one setting and another part with another setting. You can copy and paste parts between the different imports to combine the best notation, and this is much quicker than manually fixing all the mistakes from one import. Save this import as MIDI16th.sib so that you will remember what you did, and then import again a number of times. Import with Use Multiple Voices unchecked and all tuplets set to none. Adjust Rhythms will remain set to a 16th in this case. Once you've imported that, save that file as MIDI16th notuplets.sib. Import again, this time rechecking Use Multiple Voices and changing Adjust Rhythms to use an eighth note or a quaver. Save this import as MIDI8ths.sib. So you should now have 3 scores open. Each is an import of the same MIDI file, but looking quite different because of the settings that you imported each one with. You can compare them easily by going to View, then to Window, then choosing Tile vertically. Remember, Windows and Mac OS computers import MIDI files in subtly different ways, so your score may not appear exactly as seen here. After comparing these scores, you can see that the acoustic guitar, distorted electric guitar, piano and electric bass are easiest to read in the MIDI8ths.sib file. Therefore, use that as your master file and copy the better drum import from MIDI16th.sib into that one using the usual shortcuts for copy and paste. And then copy the better rock organ part from MIDI16th.notuplets.sib. The result is an eminently more readable score. Some editing is still required, but this is a very good starting point. If you play the score back, you'll notice something very interesting. While Sibelius has fixed up the timing in the notation, the playback still has the very loose or poor timing that it had originally. This is because Sibelius retains the performance data separately to the notation, and this is called live playback, so that you can create more realistic playback of your scores by including your own natural musical nuances. If you want to turn this off, because you've got a performance as terrible as this one, just go to the Play tab of the ribbon and choose Live Playback from the Live Playback group. Now, compare the playback. Alright, it's time to edit this file. The first thing to note is that not all of the instruments appear the whole way through the score. This is because the MIDI file import had a setting to hide empty staves, a trick that is often used in orchestral scores to save paper and page turns. The hidden instruments are shown by a blue dotted line, and you can show them again by making a passage selection and going to the Layout tab, and then Hiding Staves, Show Empty Staves. Another quirk of the MIDI import is that every staff shows the full instrument name, which takes up a lot of space. These names should be abbreviated. Simply double-click on each name on any page after the first page and edit them. You can make the score even tidier by making the staff smaller. When you change the staff size in Sibelius, everything gets proportionately smaller with it. Go to Layout, Document Setup, Staff Size, and make the staff size something between 5.5 and 6 millimeters. You may have noticed that Sibelius wrote some notes in the piano part with staccato marks on them. One of the settings in the import options is to show short notes with a staccato instead of a shorter note value. In this case, these are mostly unnecessary, so make a selection which includes some of them, and then filter them out to remove them all at once, rather than deleting them note by note, which would take ages. To do this, go to Home, then Select and Advanced to open the Advanced filter. Click any of the selected and check the staccato mark checkbox, and then click Select to return to the score and see all notes with staccatos now highlighted. Simply press the staccato button on the keypad and turn them off all at once. The book shows many more ways of using the advanced filter to fix up problems with imported MIDI files, as well as how to quantize music after it has been performed or imported into Sibelius. It also covers variations in import using Pro Tools Export to Sibelius feature and importing MIDI files made in other notation programs, which are often much neater by default than MIDI files from sequencers. There isn't space to show you all of that in this video, so review the rest of this part of the lesson in the book if you need to cover the finer detail. You should also edit the score to clean up any other errors that you find, and add dynamics and phrasing as you see fit to practice those skills too.